Welcome everyone to K&B Takes with Kobe Ransom. I'm your host, Benjamin Camperman, and today we have a guest for the second time on, Kobe Ransom. We're going to discuss everything QBs, basically the 49ers quarterback situation, the rookies that have gone drafted, how their performances have been, and just a few other things like that. So, Kobe, first thing, thank you for joining me today. It's been exciting to have you on.
For sure, man. Yeah. Last show was pretty fun, so I'm happy to be back and with Sox and quarterbacks, man.
Yep. So let's get to the first topic of the day. We're just going to break down each rookie quarterback. So what did you see from the top 5 rookie quarterback performances in the preseason? I guess you could start with Zach Wilson.
So Zach Wilson looks like, I guess he was probably the most impressive of the 5. I think he was the most consistent, looked the most comfortable, didn't really have too many throws. You were kind of like wondering, like, okay, that was a bad play. There was a bad play. Didn't really have much of that. And obviously he was playing with the starters since he is coming in as QB1 and no one's going to take that spot. And no one else in that roster has taken the NFL snap. So they're all kind of in the same spot. But obviously Zach Wilson taking the second pick is going to be the guy who plays. He's got a good rapport so far early on with Corey Davis. He targeted him a lot of good plays from him, and went through his reads, handled pressure pretty comfortably. Had a couple of wild throws here and there. I don't think he played in their finale. I checked the stats. I didn't watch the game yesterday, but I don't think he played in that game. So he just had the 2 preseason games, but he looked good. That's probably why he didn't play in the last game. So just from what I see, I think he's definitely towards the top as far as of the rookie quarterbacks and how they perform. He probably would be ranked towards the top.
I mean, I'm gonna kind of say what a few other people have said, but Zach Wilson looks like Rodgers as far as throwing the ball. Because you see how he flicks it, he'll just flick it naturally.
Yeah, it makes
and he has no anticipation. Like Trey Lance, he'll wind up and just whack it in there. But Zach Wilson knows exactly. It's almost like he has a great feeling of what the receivers want, as far as fastball, and so he'll just flick it in there, and it's always perfect every time. So he is a natural thrower. That's what I got from him, and like I said, he's definitely, I think, my best quarterback. So
yeah, it just it's preseason, so we can't have any definitive thoughts on what their career would be like off of a couple preseason games, but at least, just for this session, he definitely looks like the most comfortable. And I guess you can say the most ready to start.
The only question that I have about him, and I felt and I know it was preseason, but in those first few drives, I don't think they have that much.
I'm sorry, you kind of went out when you said that. What did you say again? I'm sorry.
Those first few drives, I don't think they have that much at running back, like with Tevin Coleman. So that's my only question. Will the weapons be good enough?
We'll see. They drafted Michael Carter. It was a guy I liked during the draft process, so we'll see how he is. I know, Niner fans know how Tevin Coleman is. He was obviously great, with Shanahan, but he had his moments where he had times where he couldn't really get yards, especially last year. He didn't really do much. So I guess we'll see. But running back, I guess it's one of those things where you kind of have to be really bad to not perform there. And sometimes more on the offensive line to create holes for the backs. And I think the offensive line is definitely improving.
I think Zach Wilson had a lot of pockets for sure.
So their line seems pretty solid. So their run game will likely be fine. We'll see how, Mike McDaniel. No, that's wrong. My bad. It's LaFleur, the other LaFleur. That's over there as offensive coordinator. So we'll see how he is. He's a Shanahan disciple. He wasn't the run game specialist. He was the pass game specialist. So I don't know how their run game will be, but if the scheme is the same, as long as they create holes, I think they'll be okay.
When before I cut you off, sorry, what were you going to say about the offensive line?
But yeah, their line looks solid. Obviously they invested in it. They drafted Elijah Vera Tucker, in the past draft, and they had Mekhi Becton the year before that. So, they're building this line, which is what the Jaguars need to be doing for Lawrence, because we'll get to that in a second. But I think Zach Wilson he's got a good foundation to start with.
For sure. And that's the only question with like young quarterbacks that get drafted to not a developing team is, can their weapons, like, are their weapons solid? Can they stay solid throughout the season? I think Zach Wilson, I mean, we'll get into Trevor Lawrence later, but I think Zach Wilson definitely was put in a better situation as far as play calling and everything and the scheme fit. So that's a good segue to our next quarterback, Justin Fields.
So one thing I noticed is that Fields is still very fast on the NFL field. His speed is definitely one of the faster quarterbacks in the league. He's faster than Trey Lance for sure. Just when he takes off, he's got good speed. But also, his core around him didn't help him out too much. I feel like there wasn't guys really getting open much, and he held onto the ball trying to make plays. So I think it's a guy who, once again, I think Fields and Lance are the two where you're saying start them, but they probably aren't going to start. We saw Anthony Dalton just going to play. They played today, so Dalton won't play today. He's a lock to start week 1, according to Nagy. But I think he's close to starting. I think Fields can definitely get out there soon if Dalton isn't playing well, which is likely to happen because he's, obviously if Dalton was, a guy was going to lose his job, he wouldn't have been leaving, the teams that he's left, like the Bengals. And then obviously, Dallas is Dak.
In Dallas, he was horrible in Dallas.
Yeah, so, he wouldn't be, his third team in 3 years if he was a guy who deserved to be starting a whole year. So it'll be a matter of time. But you can see there's still some ways to go. Sometimes we hand to the ball maybe a little too long. A couple of forced throws here and there. But obviously, and we'll discuss this with Lance as well, is a guy who elevates the offense. Obviously, as far as athletic ability and his downfield throwing. Just some things you can do with Fields that you probably won't do or cannot do with Andy Dalton. So, ups and downs for sure. He wasn't all perfect. I think the only one who really was, I guess you can say, kind of Mac Jones and then Zach Wilson, who, weren't too many question marks during the games. But I think Fields showed a lot of potential, and I think he should be playing rather soon for the Bears.
I think, to be honest, I feel like Fields is probably the worst pocket quarterback in this draft. I didn't see a lot out of the pocket, but again, like you said, not a lot of people, like receivers, were getting open downfield, and you'd see him like run around and then like try to check it down to somebody incomplete, or it was kind of like the same with Trevor Lawrence. So just not a lot of weapons to throw to. But again, I think he definitely tried to stay in the pocket, and we could see that was his weakness, but obviously that was his weakness all along. So with Justin Fields, he was one of the more harder quarterbacks to scout, but he's definitely athletic ability will get him through a lot of games for sure. So let's see. Next one, we could go to Mac Jones.
So Mac Jones looks good. He looks to me, the best way to put it is he looks exactly like what the Patriots want. A guy who's going to stay within the confines of the offense. Obviously, he has no kind of athletic ability to do anything outside of the offense, but he'll be, like your ideal assistant quarterback. He's a guy who's going to do what the offensive coordinator and the coaches want on any given play. He's decisive, he's accurate, and he takes the shots when they're there. That's just, the feeling I got. He feels like a Bill Belichick quarterback, so to speak, and that's just the vibe that I got. And I think if Cam struggles at some point in the season, I think it won't be surprising to see Mac Jones out there at some point.
Yeah, I agree. Mac Jones looked like, I was watching he's a natural, pocket passer. He would even step up.
He has the best pocket presence of the guys, for sure.
Yeah, he would step up in the pocket, and even some of his mobility was, way better than Jimmy's. And he really, he recognized when the pocket was collapsing, and in a few plays, especially against the Eagles, steps up in the pocket, delivers a dart, and always looking downfield. So he looked, natural thrower, great natural thrower like Zach Wilson is. And pocket passing was his presence. Also, I think he's the one that benefits the most out of the offensive line. He is a great offensive line. So it's an overall great system fit because you have a good offensive line, good weapons around you. And he can utilize that basically. And with his little bit of mobility and accuracy. His accuracy was really good, probably second best in the draft. So I really liked what I saw out of Mac Jones. I don't think he's a bust. I'm just glad we got Trey Lance. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not a guy you draft in the top 10.
Yeah.
Just seeing as how his ceiling is likely, either going to be Kirk Cousins or Ryan Tannehill type.
Yeah.
That's not, those are, and, this day and age, we have more guys who have, the big arms and mobility. That's not the kind of guy you draft, above top 10. But for the Patriots, I think it probably was the best place he could have landed. And just to me, well, it wasn't. The Niners would have been, but of the teams he could have went to, past outside of the top 10, the Patriots were probably the best. And, just throughout the whole draft process, I felt like it was inevitable. Like Mac Jones, the Patriots was going to happen. That's just the vibe I got. He felt like a Patriots quarterback. And, a couple months later, here you are, Mac Jones and the Patriots, and he looks like he's going to be good for them. I think
he looks so much like it's probably just the number 10, but he looks so much like Jimmy G. I feel like he honestly looks bigger than Jimmy G.
Jimmy Garoppolo back with the Patriots looks good. He looks similar to how Mac Jones looked in that preseason. So I mean, I won't sit here and say that it's a knock. And obviously for Jimmy, he's a second round pick, so that's even better. You're not always going to get a star quarterback. If you get a starter out of a second round pick, that's a good thing. At least at quarterback, because the top guys never go in the first round. Yeah. But for the Patriots, just going from Tom Brady to Jimmy G, and then we saw it was a bit different with Cam having a guy with more mobility, and then they went and we see a year later they draft a guy who is more towards what they prefer from quarterback and Mac Jones. And I think so far what we saw in Alabama is what we saw in the preseason. He's a guy who's good in the pocket, accurate, decisive. He's had some solid deep ball throws that haven't been caught, but they were good passes. The drop from N'Keal Harry in the Eagles game, that was a good throw. In the first game against Washington, he had the good pass downfield that was also dropped. So, I guess the cornerback got a hand on, but he can stretch the field. We've seen that. It's really just going to be about his supporting cast. That's what's going to elevate or, lower him in his performance. He's a guy who will only be as good as the team around him and the coaches around him.
Exactly.
But the team around him right now is good. So as whenever he plays, I think he'll look good.
Do you think it was slightly the Eagles defense that night? I mean, I felt like they were playing awful. It was
the Eagles they didn't score in that game, so
they were so bad.
The Eagles it's going to be a rough year for them, most likely. We're for Nick Sirianni in that group, but at the same time, he's not going to take away from what he did on the field.
Exactly, and I mean, Bill Belichick, really, I think this is partly Mac Jones, his mind, but like it was even with Jimmy Garoppolo, with Bill Belichick or Tom Brady. It's a lot of Bill Belichick scheming, and he does this. He's the biggest old school coach, to be honest, because he always picks these quarterbacks, but he always does the best with them. So
he doesn't want the guys that messes up for him.
Exactly.
And these mobile guys have a tendency to try to create something out of nothing. And sometimes, there's pros and cons to that. Sometimes you get a big play. Sometimes you get a big turnover. So, Bill Belichick doesn't want to have to worry about that. He wants the guys, just going to stay in the confines of the offense and do what it is that they game plan and what they scheme to do.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones is going to be the guy to do that. And he was the best guy in this draft class for that. And so far, he looks like that.
So we will get into Trey Lance now, because I wanted actually to save Trevor Lawrence till the last one, because I feel like I have the most to say on that. He was the most intriguing one. So let's get to Trey Lance right now. What did you see from him?
So we saw ups and downs. We've seen some inaccuracy, some high passes. But at the same time, we've seen the flashes. His arm strength is, ridiculous. He fires laser beams. And we also saw him go through progressions nicely. We haven't seen him run much, which I think is something that was planned, to be fair, because we saw Fields run a lot, and we didn't see Lance run at all. We know that Lance can be a very, efficient runner at the same time, because we saw his numbers at North Dakota State. He's a very, very, very dangerous player in the run game. So, we'll probably see that in the regular season. But as far as him as a passer, I feel like he can probably improve a bit on some of the short timing stuff. Just a little bit. But as far as passes down the field, it's as advertised. He's a good downfield thrower.
Yeah.
You see the arm strength. And, I think had it been a different quarterback on the roster, I think Kyle could have named him QB1. But, we'll have a topic for that a little bit later, so we can get more into that later. But I think he up and down, but you see the flashes, and I think with Shanahan, he's going to make him look good.
I same with Fields too. With Zach Wilson, it's like the game speed is like I said before, is a little bit faster for Justin Fields and Trey Lance than it is for Zach Wilson. I feel like they need to harness that talent, like in the pocket, use all that talent that they have to really make good plays like Zach Wilson did. Obviously, we saw a lot less cleaner pockets with the Niners and Bears than Zach Wilson. I feel like Zach Wilson he had some good, clean pockets.
And part of that is because of him playing with the first team. I think if Fields and Lance played with the first team, it might have been a bit different, which is why it's hard to get a gauge fully on where these guys are at. But at the same time, it's what we've seen. So we have to take it, how we saw it.
And he definitely settled down like in the second half or at the end of that half in the 49ers game. Like we were seeing him making efficient and play. If he can just do that the whole game, that's going to be scary. Like he could really be a good quarterback. Obviously, it was more towards the end of the game where third strings were playing. But if we can just see him do that at the beginning, maybe get that adrenaline out quick. And I would also I also want to see a little bit more from Kyle Shanahan from a standpoint that just maybe easier throws earlier on, maybe make him just dink and dunks like you do with Jimmy earlier on to maybe get him settled down.
Well, that will definitely be something that they get done in regular games because, my take on what we saw, and I don't know if every coach had this kind of plan, but it felt like Kyle was just trying to put things on film for Lance to work on throughout the preseason. And when you're in regular games trying to win, he's going to work more towards his strengths. So we're going to see him probably, obviously we're going to see him run a lot more. And where we saw him really have success when he gets him on the move on those play action rollouts, get him out of the pocket and get him to throw on the move. That's where he did also looked impressive, and he'll probably get a lot more throws like that in regular games. It just felt like they were trying to have him be more of a drop back passer in the preseason. To work on that, to put some things on film, point to things to work on. And from Trey Lance, that's what I saw for the most part, and that's where he's probably going to need a little bit of work. Also, but for, seeing as how he didn't play football in a year. And he went from playing in, the FCS, which is a step down from normal college competition. For him to look the way he looked, it's got to be impressive. He's further along. He's handling things a lot better than many had thought that he would, considering his trajectory and how he got to where he's at now. But he's a hard worker, fast learner, and he's improved, rapidly,
tremendously.
So and even he's going to be a starter this year. I think
even from week to week. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying he's going to be a starter at some point this year. It's a win, not an if, for when he gets out on the field as a starter. Even from week to week, he's gotten first week. I feel like that wasn't a great performance, even though there was a few drops. And then the second week, I think that was a really good performance, except for the first 6, where it was like, man, I don't know. But yeah, so I feel like that was a good performance from him. Pinor says, I'm very happy to see that Lance's issues seem to be touch, timing, and accuracy. Sometimes his decision-making is scary, but I'm sure he'll improve and hopefully game to game this season. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think his touch is there, but I think there's times where I guess you can say when he's uncomfortable in the pocket is when he would try to force something in there when he's late on a throw, and that's when he throws it super hard. And just receivers, and also it's just a big difference between him and Jimmy is the arm strength. And Jimmy's balls, pause on that, aren't going to come out, super fast and super hard like Lance's are. Because Lance's has the arm talent that Jimmy doesn't have. So it's just a discrepancy between the two quarterbacks and how their passes are delivered. Lance is always going to be a lot going to have a harder pass, faster pass, whatever you want to call it. But I think as receivers get used to it, I think they'll be able to be prepared for it will change. I think they'll probably catch it more often once they're used to how they have to prepare for Lance's passes. But I'm not too concerned with his touch. He showed touch at times. Obviously, on the downfield throws. He had that rollout to Richie James where he put touch. That was one of his best throws of that game. That was just for him to flip his hips and get the ball, perfectly, just make it look so effortless. And just timing is something, that obviously improves over time. And yeah, I think decision making, every quarterback's going to have a couple of bad passes a game. Even the great ones have some passes where it's like, that was questionable.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm not too concerned. I think overall he's a better decision maker than Jimmy Garoppolo. Just the way he goes through his reads and some of the passes he attempts to make. It's just about him getting more accurate, and that's really where it comes down to. But I think for Jimmy, it wasn't always accuracy. It's the fact that he wasn't seeing things correctly. I think Lance sees things correctly. He just has to get used to playing.
Yeah, that's true. Trent Sherfield and him, those two guys are like they have the perfect chemistry between each other, because Trent Sherfield, man, that guy really has shown out this year. And I mean, Trey Lance always seems to hit him every time, basically.
Yeah, I mean, Sherfield has been probably the biggest surprise of Niners camp, just from the fact that when they signed him, I thought special teams, because that's where he had contributed before. But it's obviously Kyle Shanahan and them saw a lot more than just special teams, and we're seeing it right now. He's got some speed, and he's going to be a weapon this year for the Niners. Seems as if he's going to play a lot.
Yeah, it does seem like that. I think he's in my opinion, number 3 receiver, but.
Yeah, I mean, if Bourne could be, number 3 receiver, I think Sherfield can definitely take that role.
Easily.
And I think so far we've seen him play better than Sanu has.
Yeah, definitely. Even though Sanu has had some flashes, but I feel like Sherfield has a little bit more juice in him, especially later on in the season. That could be key too.
Yeah.
So let's get to the last one, probably, at least for me. I don't know for you, but Trevor Lawrence. He was one of the guys of the rookie quarterbacks that probably looked the least impressive. I think we'll both agree on that. What did you see from him?
A guy who's going to get used to not playing with top end talent. At Clemson, he always had the best team, but now that obviously that's kind of the curse of being the number 1 pick, is you're not going to the best team. You're going to one of the worst teams. And also, just obviously with Urban Meyer and that coaching staff and the team around him, he's probably, you could say, in the worst situation of the 5 quarterbacks. And we kind of saw that in the preseason. He was under pressure a lot and he didn't always handle it well. He had a couple of fourth passes here and there. He had a couple of like wow throws, but as opposed to the other 5 guys, I think he struggled the most. I think that's simple to say. And to be quite honest, these are things I kind of saw from him at Clemson. He's kind of a one-read guy. When you're at Clemson, your first read's going to always be open, so you don't exactly have to worry about going through your progressions, through the defense. So it may take us some time to get a little more used to that. Obviously, his arm talent, just his arm strength and just his throwing motion, just all that stuff is why he went number 1 as far as his physical attributes and intangibles. It's all best in class, and the combination of height, arm strength, speed, all that good stuff. It's it's all there, but just in terms of the intricacies of the quarterback position, he's got to get used to going through progressions and trying to make pocket awareness, pocket movement. I think of the quarterbacks, he was probably one of the worst.
That's true.
Just pocket presence and all, and it's kind of hard when you get you're getting pressured as quick as he was, but at the same time, no one else really looked uncomfortable under pressure. I think Wilson, he had clean pockets, but when he was pressured, he looked calm. Even Fields looked calm.
That's true.
Lance worked through it pretty well as well, and obviously Jones. We talked about his. He
would step up in the pocket and.
Yeah, he has to, obviously, because he has to be great in the pocket, because that's the only place he's really going to hurt you from is the pocket. But I think Lawrence has the most room to improve in that area.
And I feel like it's easier to get an evaluation of him and Lawrence and Wilson, because they are playing with the first team. And like you said, like he would get under pressure, he would roll out, and then he just wouldn't find anybody and like throw it to no man's land. So they're easier to scout, him and Wilson, for sure. But Trevor Lawrence was more, he didn't have weapons. I feel like part of it was, I think, the Urban Meyer play calling. I feel like he should have, I feel like he should have called a little bit more shorter passes, maybe more easier passes to complete than downfield, because downfield passes are for like waiting in the pocket and delivering darts like Jameis Winston are for experienced guys that know they're going to be there. So maybe Trevor Lawrence, it doesn't have as much trust in his receivers downfield as much as veteran quarterbacks would.
Yeah, he's just got to develop chemistry with the guys. Like a lot of it's going to be on Urban Meyer to ensure that he's, developing him the right way, and we'll see how he is during the season. I think that was also another kind of questionable hire. Guys, he's been out of football for a while, and now it's taking a jump from college to NFL, where in college you always have a great team. He doesn't have that here in Jacksonville. So we'll see how coach, GM, obviously they got everyone's favorite, Niners fans' favorite GM, Trent Baalke over there making decisions. Then you got Urban Meyer, and then you got a team that's not that great. It's going to be an uphill climb for Lawrence from the looks of it. Jaguars likely won't be that great this year.
No.
I think if anyone struggles in the most, it could be Trevor Lawrence, and where people start to question, did they make the right pick? And it won't be. It's not a fair discussion, whenever it occurs, but he's going to have the hardest time of the 5 guys for sure.
I agree with that one too, and I think Zach Wilson. I think if you're comparing Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, I think Zach Wilson actually could get to 7-10 or something like that, or maybe even 8-9. Obviously, the division is strong, so probably not a playoff berth. But I think more like with Trevor Lawrence, it's more like a 5-12 kind of thing. I don't think more than that.
Yeah, they won 1 game last year, so there might be, I think 4 wins, 5 wins would be a good season for them, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. So Pinor says Lawrence is doing good. It just upsets me a little because of all the hype that was built up with him over the years. I can't blame him, though I'm sure with time and better team, his game will be great.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, is the fact that he's been the number 1 pick for 3 straight years, pretty much. Just from Clemson, he was already penciled in after his first year starting as he's going to be number 1 pick, just because of his traits were so great. It's just not something you see in everyone. But yeah, I think he'll be fine as long as the Jaguars, do him right, get him the improved offensive line, get him the weapons he needs, and hopefully Urban Meyer turns out to be a good coach, which I'm not sure the odds of that is high for him in the NFL. But I guess we'll see. But Lawrence, no one looks like a bust, so far throughout the preseason. No one looks like I think every team has a reason to be optimistic about their guys, but just kind of trying to think ahead. I think Lawrence might have the roughest season up to 5.
Yeah. One guy, I know some people are interested in fantasy, but one guy that I think could be a good guy on this Jaguars team, and probably one of the only good fantasy threats on this team, Marvin Jones.
Him and James Robinson.
Yeah.
Those two, especially with ETN out for the year. So those two are probably the only two because Robinson ran for over 1,000 last year, and now he's got better quarterback play. And also Gardner Minshew's out of town. I guess that's kind of relevant. He went to the Eagles, and everyone's favorite quarterback, Nick Mullins, got released. So
wait, really? Yep. Was that like this morning?
Yeah, Minshew got traded to the Eagles, and Mullins got released. So,
wow.
That goes.
Yeah, Mullins wasn't playing too good.
Kind of off topic, but that goes to show. That's why I have no kind of fear in what Kyle would do with Trey Lance, because he made people believe that Nick Mullins should start at some point. Not everyone, but he made some people believe that Nick Mullins should start over Jimmy Garoppolo, and now that guy is without a job. So
I feel like that arm injury kind of ended his career. Like, I don't know if you saw this too, but like when he got that injury, it's like the Niners gave up on him. The Eagles took a chance on him, but I feel like he had never really been the same. And also, I think Kyle Shanahan kind of made Nick Mullins to be great. I don't think with the Eagles, I don't think they utilized him exactly right. So,
well, it's preseason. He's with the third team, and they're not going to game plan for the third team. So he's just kind of out there trying to make it work. And I wouldn't even really say it's because of his arm. I think he just never had it. He never had arm strength. His game was really made from Kyle Shanahan. Just the fact that he was a guy who had an understanding of the offense, and that kind of worked with Kyle, where he kind of knew where to go with the ball. But whenever he was forced to move off his spot, try to get the ball downfield, is where you saw Mullen struggle, and we saw that again in the preseason. And just, he he went undrafted for a reason. That's just what it boils down to. Kyle made him look like something he wasn't, and that's.
And wait, what was it? Through the first 20 starts or something, he had the most passing quarterbacks. He was on the way to breaking a record.
Yeah.
So
I think it was 13.
It's definitely He was on a
list with Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes, and people were like, "Oh my God, this guy might be something." And it's like, no, he's not.
No, we saw that with the Eagles, and that's just a testament to Kyle Shanahan, just how good of a coach he was at calling up those game plans. And I always felt a little bit like when Nick Mullins would throw an interception or something like that, I always felt that it was a little bit painful to watch, him not being able to move out of the pocket when him getting pressured. So he definitely didn't have the greatest. It was a little painful to watch him play because it was he had no physical anything. So that's why I feel like I don't exactly know what people were seeing out of him, but okay. So thoughts on Jameis Winston being named the starter for the Saints?
So it's the right decision. Number one, that was the correct choice to start Jameis Winston. And, just honestly, it's going to be intriguing to see how the Saints are this year, because the last 2 years, Drew Brees has been really a shell of what he used to be. His arm gave out on him. He couldn't get the ball down the field anymore. He was really, everything was quick. Everything was short game. Everything was 10 yards and in. It felt like then he would toss one downfield, but he had no ability to stretch the field anymore. And now with Winston this year, you're going to have that. That's a guy who obviously can stretch the field a good bit, and we could see another element of Sean Payton's offense this year, given that fact. As far as just we know that Winston was obviously the first round pick. National champion back at Florida State. Is a guy who's got the talent to play quarterback, and this is post LASIK Jameis, so maybe it's a different Jameis. He got the eye surgery to fix his eyesight. So maybe he
post 30 interception Jameis.
Yeah, maybe we won't see him throwing the ball to the other team 30 times again. But yeah, I think it's the right move of the guys that had the Taysom Hill thing. Taysom Hill doesn't work as a starter. He works as the gadget guy. And almost the gadget thing was because of Drew Brees. They had to add an element to the offense where they weren't to be predictable. I think Taysom Hill adds a bit of unpredictability. Just the fact that he's kind of just like a guy you can just toss in there. It's like, okay, what are they planning to do with him on this play and that play? And, this. Yeah. And also the fact that he can throw is also, something you can utilize. I don't know how much to do that now since they're starting Jameis, and I don't think he's needed as much with Jameis because your playbook is a little more open than it was with Drew Brees. So, we'll see. It's intriguing. I think the Saints can make the playoffs this year. They have a solid team. Obviously, they don't have Michael Thomas this year because of his ankle issue, but their defense has been great. It's still good. And then obviously you got Jameis Winston now with Sean Payton. Sean Payton has gotten the most out of the guys he's played. We saw with Teddy when he played, he went 5-0. Even when Taysom played, even though they played the Broncos, who were starting a receiver at quarterback for one of those games, but Taysom was serviceable for the 4 games he played last season. So I think Jameis, he probably should do well this year, at least well enough for them to be in the hunt for the playoffs. And I think the Saints are going to be another team that stays, around in the playoff hunt this year. And then Winston should probably have a bounce back season.
I feel like that is too, and I think Winston is more of like a natural quarterback than Taysom Hill. Can throw it downfield, more built like a quarterback. I feel like Taysom Hill, he had good throwing mechanics and everything, but when he got in the pocket, he was like, okay, what do I do now? Jameis Winston knew exactly where it was, where his reads were going to be. I just think Jameis Winston looked like a lot more natural of a thrower, natural of a play caller. And I think it was meant to be like this. I mean, this didn't come as across to me as a surprise.
Yeah, Taysom Hill is so forced, it feels like to me. He's almost become annoying in a sense, because like, why are they trying so hard to make this work? But at least they're not trying it now. They're just going to start Jameis and move on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so we'll get to, hold on, I think there's a question. Jameis is way better than Hill. I'm surprised to see all the disrespect he gets. If Jameis can eliminate 1/3 of his interceptions and keep the passing production he once had, he'll be great for New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, Jameis, that's the thing with him, is his turnovers. But he's had big passing numbers. He's thrown for over 5,000 yards in that 30 interception season. But obviously, you see he can get the ball downfield. He's thrown a lot of touchdowns before. He had the Buccaneers in the playoff hunt a couple of times. He was playing for them. The talent is there. It's just, I think with Sean Payton, he'll find a way to get the most out of it, and the Saints will be pretty good this year.
And I mean, it was impressive when he was like throwing those 50-yard dimes to Marquez Callaway, and he like dropped it like right in his hands. And like, especially in that one that was in the middle of the end zone, not on the sideline. That was another one to Marquez Callaway, where like there was two guys surrounding Marquez Callaway, and like he like put it like right there. It was beautiful what he was doing. So.
Yeah, they're going to be fun to watch for sure to see how Jameis does.
Mm-hmm. So our last topic is, where do you think Kyle Shanahan stands on the 49ers QB controversy, and where do you think the Niners players stand on the controversy?
I think for the players, it's split. Because a lot of the guys, like, I guess the name of the top two is Mike McGlinchey and George Kittle, two starters, who are obviously big advocates for Jimmy Garoppolo. So, when you have the two guys, kind of, for me, camp ended, and we have one more game. We'll see them play tomorrow. But, camp ended with them kind of like in the same, they kind of tied to me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, I feel like the tie should have gone to Trey Lance, because he can do so much more than Jimmy Garoppolo can. But in the eyes of the locker room, I think the tie had to go to Jimmy Garoppolo because of the fact that, most rookie quarterbacks are brought in to a situation where there's a veteran there, but he hasn't had success, or there's a guy who was just brought in to kind of to be just a bridge. And Jimmy Garoppolo he is the bridge. At the same time, the way that Lance is brought into the situation is not common.
Yeah.
Seeing that Jimmy Garoppolo, if he just didn't get hurt, the Niners wouldn't have had a chance to draft Trey Lance in the first place. That's number one. Number two, when the last time he started the full season, which obviously I'm not going to sit here and say this is, deserves him to keep the job or whatever, but the last time he played the full season, won the Super Bowl. So just the last impression of the players is that Jimmy Garoppolo wins games and gets us to where we want to go. Mm-hmm. So if you start Trey Lance over Jimmy Garoppolo and Lance struggles for any reason, it makes Kyle look bad to the locker room.
Yeah.
It's like he had, he didn't do the right thing for the team. He just wanted to play Lance because he wanted to. And kind of segueing into Shanahan, I think that was the case. I think Shanahan did want to play Lance early, but Lance didn't do enough to justify starting him over Jimmy because of the inaccuracies and the high throws and just things of that nature. Because it's obvious as an athlete, he can do way more than Jimmy Garoppolo can. Jimmy just can't do the things that Trey Lance can do. But that's how I think it played out. I think Shanahan had the plan to play Lance at some point. I think he wanted to do it as early as possible, but Lance obviously didn't do enough to justify in the eyes of the players starting him over Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's why obviously Kyle hasn't announced it yet, but I think that's why Jimmy Garoppolo feels good about who he thinks the starter is going to be, which is probably him, and that's probably how they will start it out. And like I said earlier, I think it's a when, not if. When Trey Lance starts, I think he'll start at some point this season, but it's not going to be week one.
Yeah, I think Kyle Shanahan is kind of, from his point of view, Trey Lance, I think he drafted Trey Lance. So obviously he wants him to, like, obviously Jimmy Garoppolo, he wasn't happy with Jimmy Garoppolo. But the thing is he basically, Jimmy Garoppolo was like, here, dude, like, I'm not playing very well in camp. I've thrown 11 TDs and 11 interceptions. Basically, take the job. And Trey Lance really hasn't taken the job. He hasn't shown enough, like you said, to be a starter. And that's why I think Kyle Shanahan is like, I mean, I drafted you. I want you to start. But, yeah, you haven't really shown like you're ready. Neither has Jimmy. But if we start Trey Lance and the players all see it, then it would not look good for me, my reputation, and for you, because you'd look like a complete idiot. So as far as the players, I think all the rookies are for Trey Lance because they haven't really played with Jimmy Garoppolo, so they've seen him in camp and they've been like, eh. And then all the players like Deebo Samuel and people like that who haven't been here for maybe not Deebo Samuel, but who haven't been here for very long and have just kind of seen, like Brandon Ayuk, seen Jimmy mostly for the last 2 training camps not do very well. And then I think that narrows it down to like a few players: Mike McGlinchey, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, all the people that have been there since the beginning with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think if there's a few players on the team that still want him, but not very many.
Yeah, Pardner, his most recent comment is basically how I see it. Yeah, Kyle is waiting for Lance to take the job, and I think he's going to do that by playing them both. And that way he can justify playing Lance over Shanahan. Because when the moment that Jimmy Garoppolo loses them a game by throwing a bad interception and just failing to move the chains on the offense, and then you put Trey Lance in and the offense starts picking up and moving, then the players are like, okay, I see why we're doing this. But until that happens, because Jimmy only got 2 series so far in the preseason, he hasn't had a chance, because we've seen Trey Lance come out and have a bad series, but he gets more reps, so he gets a chance to, to make up for it. Like the Chargers game. Yeah. If Trey Lance went out there and went 1 for 6 with the throws that he made, and then that was it for the rest of the game, but what would just the viewpoint have been? Like, oh, Trey Lance is the bust. Like, he looks bad. Jimmy Garoppolo went out there. He had the one drive, ended with a pick. He had no chance to come back out there and make up for it. So that's why the preseason was kind of hard. And I think, like Shanahan said, there wasn't going to be an open competition. I think he was truthful in that statement. I know some people question, and I'll admit I kind of questioned it too, whether he really meant that or not. But I think he did, in the sense that Jimmy Garoppolo, it would have taken a lot for Jimmy to lose his job. I think that's really all that he meant by that, was that they're not starting on equal footing. Jimmy Garoppolo is starting here. Trey Lance is starting here. Trey Lance probably got to here. He probably about hand, but he got that's where Trey Lance got to. Jimmy kind of started here. He didn't do anything to really elevate or lower. Yeah, but Lance just got right here. He's close. But if it was equal footing, if it was equal competition, open competition, they both get the same amount of first team snaps and everything. Trey Lance won. But
I think Trey Lance could start as soon as week 2. I mean, to be honest, I think Jimmy Garoppolo, if he has a really not too good game week 1, now I don't know how easy that's going to be because the Lions, but if he doesn't have a great game week 1 and then they throw in Trey Lance, I think you could see him start as much as week 2. But the only problem with that is that maybe the players will say, we haven't seen enough out of Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, we have to at least see him for 6 weeks completely doing bad for him to really lose the starting job.
And that's why I think Kyle wants to play them both throughout. That was what he said in the Monday Morning Quarterback article some weeks ago. And that's kind of what they did in that last week of training camp, where they were kind of splitting, the first team snaps. And I think that's what Kyle plans to do in this game as well, where he's kind of, flip-flopping between the quarterbacks and the first, with the first team. I think to me, it's like he's continuing this quarterback competition, quote unquote, into the regular season, where he's trying to, he's gonna do this until Trey Lance wins the job. He's gonna play them both until Lance wins the job. And that to me speaks that he wanted to start Lance, but he just couldn't do it because Trey Lance didn't do enough, to justify starting him over the Jimmy Garoppolo to the eyes of some of the players. and I don't think he wants to create any locker room problems because he made a personal decision in a team matter. So
yeah, and that's
how I sum it up. That's how I think about it.
And in training camp, it really is hard to kind of, especially for a guy like you said that had an uphill battle. It really is hard since you're not playing in real games. During practice, people are like, "Okay, let's see you in a game," and so that's what it's even harder in practice to justify that.
Yeah, I mean, just because the fact that teams can't really hit the quarterback.
Yeah.
So the way people react to pressure is probably a little different. We saw Lance get sacked a lot. In the games that the 2 games that we saw him play. So just kind of like just navigating pressure and all that good stuff is different in practice than the real games. And that's probably why Jimmy Garoppolo is a better practice player. I mean, better game player than practice player. Also, the fact that they're not game planning in practice. They're not like trying to. It's more evaluation, right? They're doing things to evaluate players. So they're not always playing to their strong suit in practice. So.
Right.
I think that's just the biggest thing of why game and practice is so different. Obviously, it's important still, but it's still different as far as evaluation process.
I completely agree. So that's basically all the topics we have. We broke down quarterbacks. We just basically was all quarterbacks. This has been a lot of fun, Kobe.
Oh yeah, for sure. Another great show, man. Love being on here.
Hold on. We have one quick. Week 8 is my prediction for Lance to make his debut. Lance versus Field on Halloween, coincidentally. Yep. Kyle loved to prove that Lance was a better pick than Fields, and I am definitely getting my tickets.
They got an early bye. So what is it, week 7 against the Colts? It's like the first game after the bye. They play 5 games.
Yeah.
Week 6 bye. So I have a hard time. Yeah, just thinking about it, I have a hard time seeing Lance taking the job before the bye week. Simply because Jimmy, and not because he doesn't deserve it, but because of just how Jimmy's going to look. He's playing the Lions and the Eagles. That's the first 2 games. I mean, so those are 2 teams that he's probably going to perform well against. They aren't that great. Although if Jimmy plays bad in one of those games, he's definitely losing the job early. But
that's true.
As far as the prediction goes, it's going to be some point after the bye week. I don't know if the Colts game is what Kyle wants, seeing that the Colts are going to be one of the better teams in the league. Seems like they're going to get Carson Wentz back pretty early. I know we discussed that the last show when he recently got hurt, but it seems like he's on track to start sooner than later. But yeah, I mean, what are their next games after the first 2? What is it? They put the Packers.
So Packers the week 3, Seahawks week 4, week 5.
Cardinals.
What is week 5?
It's the Cardinals.
Cardinals. And then week 6 is by week 7's Colts, week 8's Bears.
Yeah.
Week 9, I feel like it's the Rams.
Yeah, I think that might be it too. But that early stretch is like, if you're going to get Trey Lance in, you kind of want to do it early.
Yeah.
Before you get to the Packers and the Seahawks and the Cardinals, because that 3-game stretch, a little tough. Even if the Cardinals, they're kind of a question mark team. You don't know how good or bad they're going to be. I don't think they'll be bad. They're going to be average, really good. I'll probably lean close to the average, but they always play the Niners stuff. So, as far as that goes, it's always going to be a hard game with the Cardinals. Which is why, likely, like I said, I just would have preferred to start him early. I was in the train of start Lance week 1 because he looks ready.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo isn't doing anything to keep that job as far as on the field, but like I said earlier, they didn't start on equal footing. It wasn't a open competition. It wasn't an equal battle. Jimmy Garoppolo had just the head start because he's already been here and the success he's had. But yeah, overall, I mean, I prefer him to start earlier. Hopefully week 2. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's not week 1. But yeah.
I think another thing before I said after week, as long as week 2, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo will get through the Cardinals and Seahawks? I mean, that's going to be and Packers if he plays bad. If he plays bad, I don't know. It could be Green Bay, could be another team that he could be He could. Trey Lance could.
Jimmy Garoppolo should perform. If Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't perform well against the Lions, then you're like, okay, yeah, it's time to make the change. But I just when the games start and Kyle Shanahan is obviously putting Jimmy in a position to succeed, obviously leaning more towards things that he's good at and things he can do well. I think he should play well against the Lions and the Eagles, and that's why I have a hard time seeing him take the job early. Because if he's playing well, how exactly do you start justify starting Trey Lance? It seems like it's about Kyle justifying it, just making it look good in the eyes of the locker room. Because you don't want to lose the locker room when you do that. That's never a good thing. So just in the eyes of just trying to start Lance at a time where it makes sense to do so, hard to see it before the bye if he doesn't start week 2 at the earliest.
I've got to say, for this one, predictions for Lance starting. I want to go on the safe side and say after the bye, but I don't know. Probably after the bye.
I'm gonna say week 7. I'm gonna say week 7 right after the bye. Because here's where I can see it playing out. Jimmy plays well in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
But then again, I forgot they're both gonna be playing.
True.
So, Jimmy Garoppolo is playing bad during a game. He can switch to Lance. Game. Yeah. So that's a tougher thing to really gauge. But I'm gonna say week 7 because just the timeline makes more sense. Jimmy Garoppolo probably plays well in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Probably up and down. The next 3 games against good teams. Then the bye week. Yeah, they got a chance to look at film. Lance is 6 more weeks into the season. He's a little, maybe a little more comfortable. Not that he's uncomfortable right now, but obviously has a better grasp of the offense. Maybe clean up a couple of things that was, has been plaguing him so far in the, training camp and preseason.
Yeah.
Week 7 after bye week, you get 2 weeks of game plan. You get Lance in there, and then he starts to. That's when it starts. That's when it's his team. Yeah, I'm gonna go week 7.
Yeah, same with me. Let's see.
But I wouldn't. It could definitely be before.
Yeah, so. Week 8, baby. Buckner will make sure Jimmy looks bad. Yeah.
I mean, that would be that would be a stab to the heart probably because they trade away Buckner, and then Buckner would be the reason
that's going to be a revenge game like no other. That's probably going to honestly. That's my game of the year.
That would hurt a lot of fans' hearts. It wouldn't hurt mine, but. A lot of fans, because a lot of people are big supporters of Jimmy, and obviously hate to see Buckner go. So if Buckner is the reason that Jimmy loses his job, that'd be funny to me. But
that would be. Well, anyways, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We will see you guys later, and yeah.